Hello, I'm the 10-minute English teacher. Let's get you exam ready. Today, we're thinking about an inspector caused by J.B Priestley, and I'm providing you with my guide to all of the key moments involving the character Mr Birling. Before we get going, don't forget to like and subscribe. There are plenty of things on the channel to help you understand all of the key characters and all of the acts like an expert. Okay, my guide to the key moments involving Mr Birling. Now here we have Act 1, where the inspector arrives and questions Mr Birling and then Sheila, with Gerald at the end of the act letting on that he's known Eva Smith previously in his life. Now in Act 1, Mr Birling features heavily and we find out lots about him and what his motivations are. Now at the beginning of the play, we find out that Mrs Birling is her husband's social superior, so that tells us a little bit about Mr Birling, and we also find out about his clothing that he's wearing for his evening, and that's significant. We've got the men here wearing tails and white ties, not dinner jackets, so that we, the audience, know that this is a play about wealth and privilege. Now, Mr Birling speaks the first line of the play, and he says, giving us the poor Edna, that's right, showing his entitlement and privileged attitude towards the lower classes. So that's how the play opens in relation to Mr Birling. We then have Mr Birling making his toast to Gerald and Sheila. It's a shame Sir Croft and Lady Croft can't be with us, Mr Birling says, being very careful with the words he chooses to show deference and respect towards them, given that they are of the upper class. Now, Birling should be speaking about the love between Gerald and Sheila and the love that they have for each other, but he ends up making the speech all about him and what he stands to gain from their engagement. Working with the Crofts in business would mean lower costs and higher prices. Now, Mr Birling then gives a speech about society and the future, calling himself a hard-headed man of business. Now, this is the moment in the play where Mr Birling talks about the Titanic and ironically calls it unsinkable, absolutely unsinkable, to highlight to us how flawed his attitudes and opinions are. And at that point, the inspector arrives. So he's making this speech, the inspector arrives, and that perhaps signifies how he has arrived to silence Mr Birling. Now, the first interactions put them in opposition with each other, and Mr Birling tries to intimidate the inspector. I should warn you, he says, before mentioning playing golf with the Chief Constable and having been Lord Mayor. Mr Birling is then questioned. He's the first character to be questioned about Eva Smith, and he's being asked about her, and he pretends not to recognise her from the photo that he's shown by the inspector. Now, he calls Eva Smith a wretched girl and takes no responsibility for any contribution towards her downfall in quite a tense exchange between him and the inspector. Now, in the rest of this act, we've got some interjections from Birling and some interactions between him and the inspector, but the rest of this act is focused on Sheila's part to play in Smith's downfall and the mounting tensions between her and Gerald. Now we move into Act 2, where Gerald and Mrs Birling are spoken to by the inspector. Now, Gerald has had an affair with Eva Smith, who he knew as Daisy Renton. Now, if the engagement between Gerald and Sheila is off, this would compromise Mr Birling's plans to work in partnership with the Crofts. I'm not defending him, but you must understand that a lot of young men, starts Mr Birling. Now, he is defending Gerald and trying to somehow keep that engagement together, which means more to him really than his daughter's happiness. So that's the moment where Sheila gives the ring back to Gerald, and Mr Birling is crestfallen and wants Sheila to reconsider. The focus is then turned to Mrs Birling, who has refused charity to the girl pregnant with Eric's child, and the blame is then placed on the father before we know him to be Eric. And this relates to Mr Birling because he is worried about a public scandal that would compromise his knighthood. We then move into Act 3. Now, Act 3 begins with the attention turned to Eric and his relationship and attack upon Eva Smith. Now, this part of the play is interesting because it gives us an insight into the relationship, or a lack of relationship, between Eric and Mr Birling, the father and son. Now, the fact that Birling is only motivated by status and gain is perhaps the reason that Eric is so lost, angry and dangerous. Now, Mr Birling asks Eric about why he didn't turn to him. You're not the sort of father a chap can turn to, says Eric, and that gives us a bit of an understanding of the relationship that Mr Birling has with him. Now, he owns up to stealing money from the factory, and this is distressing to Mr Birling. Now, Mr Birling shows us that his only motivation is his knighthood when he says, I've got to cover this up as soon as I can, in regards to the money that's been stolen. Now, it's interesting that his biggest concern is this money, which could bring the scandal that could threaten his knighthood, and he doesn't really seem to be too concerned about the attack on Eva Smith that has helped to destroy her. With all the facts revealed, Birling realises the trouble that he's in and tries to use his privilege to buy his way out of it. "I'd give thousands," he tells the inspector, who of course would not accept a bribe. And it's at that point the inspector delivers his final address to the family before leaving the stage. Now there's infighting between the older and younger characters, but Birling still refuses to take responsibility. "You're the one I blame for this," he tells Eric. The focus is then turned to the identity of the inspector, and Gerald returns to confirm that there is no Inspector Gould at the station, and all of this excites Mr Birling. Now, symbolically, he begins to pour drinks again, reflecting the idea that he wants to return to the moment before the inspector arrives, having learned nothing. Mr Birling's attention turns away from the demise of Eva Smith and back to his knighthood and working in business with the Crofts. We've got Sheila here considering whether or not she should take the ring back from Gerald, and "you'd better ask Gerald for that ring you gave back to him," is what Mr Birling tells Sheila. Now he implies here that he's forgotten all about Eva Smith and the affair, and he's just happy for Sheila to be marrying Gerald and everything going back to normal. So his daughter's happiness really isn't something that's at the forefront of his thinking, given that she's been betrayed by Gerald. Now, to highlight the fact that Mr Birling has earned nothing at the end of the play, he goads Eric and Sheila, who feel uncomfortable at the thought of just carrying on as if nothing has happened. He calls them the famous younger generation who think they know it all, in a moment before the phone rings to confirm that a girl has indeed died and a police inspector is on his way. Now, those are all of the key moments that involve Mr Birling in the play. The fact that he hasn't changed at the end of the play, is quite a static character, is something worth noting. Now, if you want to take it further, all you need to do is click the link in the description and you can get access to these completely free worksheets. They will let you revisit the key moments in the tutorial that you've just watched, and you can then summarise each key moment in your own words and add in the key quotes to develop and revise your understanding of Mr Birling. So well worth having, and you can use this video to revisit all of those key moments and the key quotes that I've provided you with today. Okay, check out the other videos on my channel. I'll continue to add content. Feel free to ask something you'd like to see me cover in the comments section. There are plenty of things in the playlist to help you with Inspector Gould, guides to key quotes, key moments, all of the acts and key characters, as well as some ideas to help you write essays that you'd be writing in your English literature examination. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share, and keep revising.